Super Sunday is upon us at the very, very beautiful Newlands cricket ground. And why is it Super Sunday? Because India versus Pakistan, the Women's T20 World Cup, is about to begin very, very shortly. India and Pakistan, yes, they will only play in ICC events. They will play only in major tournaments like this. And that's why every encounter of theirs is very important. Firstly, before I get to the rivalry, before I get to this, very, very pleasing to see Harmanpreet Kaur come out and lead, because there were question marks even over Harmanpreet Kaur's availability for this game against Pakistan, because she had sustained a shoulder injury during the final of the tri-series against South Africa. So now, and it looks like Pakistan have won the toss.
Pakistan have won the toss indeed, yes.
Oh boy. So Pakistan, what will they choose to do? I think they've chosen to bat.
They have chosen to bat.
Right.
So, interestingly, the last time around that the two teams played, which was in the Asia Cup, then also Pakistan batted first, put up 134-37 and managed to win the game.
Win the game by 13 runs. And not just that. Pakistan's 2 World Cup wins against India have come while batting first. They had won the opening game that they had at Gaul in 2010 by 1 run.
Oh, yeah.
Then they won, I think, in 2012. I'm sorry if I'm not 2012. Yeah, 2012 in Sri Lanka, they had won by 1 run. In 2016, India versus Pakistan in New Delhi, they had won by 2 runs. So whenever Pakistan had batted first against India, they have managed to win. And that is why you look at it. Overall, in the head-to-head, India has a very superior record. When it comes to T20,
I think it's 10 wins as against 3.
10 and 5.
10 and 3.
10 and 3, yeah.
10 and 3.
Because all 3 of Pakistan's wins, if you have to look at it, have come in the World Cup and the Asia Cup.
Yes.
So that
but it's not as skewed, you know, when you talk about India-Pakistan rivalry. At one point, yes, it used to be skewed both in men as well as women's cricket. But now things have changed. I would say Pakistan men's team also has a report card that they can at least present now, because they've got a few wins now.
Yep.
Also the women's team as well. They've won twice, I think, in World Cups.
Yes. No.
So,
yeah, against Pakistan, you mean?
Yes.
Yes. I think they won 4 times. And Pakistan have only won 2 times.
2, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
4-2 is the head-to-head when you look at India versus Pakistan at
in women's cricket.
Women's cricket.
Women's T20 World Cups.
T20 World Cup. Yeah, Women's T20 World Cup. So the latest breaking news that we have is that Pakistan have won the toss and they have chosen to bat. And mostly India will be without Smriti Mandhana.
I think we know that Smriti Mandhana will not be there. But good thing with this Indian women's side being that they've got a lot of bench strength. They bat deep. So
they bat deep, but then also there are some players who are returning back. For example, Shikha Pandey.
Yes.
Shikha Pandey, for example, has not played for a long period of time. Yeah. So whether she will be rusty, it remains to be seen. But yeah, as you said, there's Harmanpreet Kaur, there is Richa Ghosh, there is
Harleen,
Shefali Verma. Yes. Shefali Verma, by the way, won the Under-19 World Cup just a couple of weeks ago in the same country, although in a different place. They won it in Potchefstroom. Here they are playing at the beautiful Newlands ground in Cape Town, and that's Sana Mir and Anjum Chopra. Remember, Sana Mir was one of the best players from Pakistan at this point in time. So the Pakistan team is Javeria Khan, Muniba Alam, Alia Khan, Fatima Sana Sheikh, and Aisha Nida Dar is there.
Nida Dar is going to be
very crucial. Then there is Nashra Sandhu. Then there is Sadia, Muniba is the keeper. So Bisma Maroof, all the things will be there on Nida Dar and Bisma Maroof.
Nida Dar,
So let's see. Okay, Yastika.
So Yastika has been promoted up, right?
Yes, Yastika will open because unfortunately Harmanpreet is, Smriti Mandhana is not there. So this is the India 11. Shefali Verma, Yastika Bhatia, Jemima Rodriguez, Harmanpreet Kaur, Richa Ghosh, Harleen Deol, Deepti Sharma, Pooja Vastrakar, Radha Yadav, Rajeshwari Gaikwad and Renuka Thakur Singh.
Yes.
So that is how this Indian lineup is. On paper, perhaps their batting has been weakened a touch because
of
Mandhana's absence, unfortunately. So that is why it's quite an even contest. I would have to look at it. But yes, Pakistan's build-up has not been ideal. India's build-up has been okay-ish to say
checkered.
Maybe checkered, because look, how did India prepare their ICC World T20 campaign? Okay. They had played in the ICC, they had played in the tri-series that involved West Indies and South Africa. Dominant performances in the league stages, but unfortunately in the final, Harmanpreet Kaur suffered an injury, and that is why India badly lost that game to South Africa.
Just looking at the pitch though, because the broadcasters just showed that top view, it looks like a lot of cracks, if you ask me.
It's going to be a slow dry wicket. The grass is there only to hold the cracks together. And that is why
Plenty of cracks.
Look at the
Which
way.
is, by the way, if you then look at it, good decision to bat first.
Yes. See, Rajeshwari Gaikwad, Radha Yadav, these two are all left-arm orthodox spinners, and spin is going to have a major threat. Renuka Thakur Singh, that is the only thing you look at. Pooja Wastrakar, so Deepti Sharma. 5 bowlers in that sense. 2 left-arm orthodox, 1 off-spinner in Deepti Sharma. Pooja Wastrakar and Renuka Thakur Singh, they are all the pacers if you have to look at it. So, Bisma Maroof has clearly said that yes, we would like to bat first. And remember, all of Pakistan's wins have come while batting first.
Against India.
Asia Cup and the 2 World Cups at that point in time. Yes. Few cracks, but the pitch report according to Dane van Niekerk. Man, Dane van Niekerk, you're not playing, South Africa are not playing their best player. And why is that?
All down to fitness.
All down to fitness. They needed to run 2 kilometers in 8 minutes.
8 minutes, yeah.
Van Niekerk just missed it by 18 seconds.
18 seconds. Which sparked a debate altogether with regards to whether you need these cricketers to be running 2 kilometers. You don't need them to run 2 kilometers at a stretch.
Exactly.
So,
absolutely.
Again, huge controversy being sparked in many ways. If the standard and the yardstick of fitness in cricket can work the same way as it does in other sports, because we've heard from Sunny Bhai on sports
the
today.
yo-yos.
Exactly. Like you can get slim trim people if you want them. You can get models to play then for India.
Exactly. So that is why Akash Bharat was saying, okay, I'll come to Akash Bharat, but then, okay, this is how it is, okay. India had 2 prior matches, series that you have had before the start of the T20 World Cup. They played Australia in a 5-match series. They lost that 4-1. Although India can be credited that 1 win also came courtesy a super over.
Yeah.
Then in the tri-series that was there, they played West Indies in South Africa. They won the league stages very comprehensive but lost in the final. So it's been a rather mixed build-up, if you may have to look at it in this way. Because the problem is with the Indian cricket team. Yes, if you look at before the Asia Cup, they had played Pakistan in the Commonwealth Games. And in that, Pakistan batted first, but they could only post 99.
Yeah.
And India managed to chase that down very easily.
Very comfortable.
Although, as I've said from the very beginning, this is perhaps which team is going to go into the final to face Australia. Yeah. Because India have to start very well in this tournament. Because
England have already won theirs, by the way.
And their net run rate is plus 2.7. And remember, Australia demolished New Zealand by 97 runs.
Yeah.
So all the favourites, barring South Africa, they have made a very good start in this T20 World Cup.
See, so that's not to say, going into this match that I'd want a very dominant performance or one-sided performance, because, see, games like these, it just boils down to nerves at times, and at times you just need that win. So maybe you can target, let's say, West Indies or an Ireland for that big win if you really want to boost this thing, because you want to start the tournament on the right foot and on a winning note.
Yes.
So I don't think right now the idea will be to win big. Of course, if you win big, that's great.
Pretty tough group if you have to look at it, because after this they will play
West
England
Indies.
and
No, they play West Indies first.
And then England.
Yes.
So basically you're looking at either of England, India or the West Indies managing to get through from this group. But remember, West Indies have already made a bad start.
Yes.
And India have often had the wood over the West Indies when it comes to past encounters. Be it ODIs or T20Is. So
and the good thing for that match will be, as we're learning, that Smriti Mandhana will be back. It's just that she's not available for today. But in a couple of days' time, you could see her back in the nets and in all likelihood play that match against West Indies, which is I think in about 2 to 3 days' time.
15th. On 15th. Now, when did Mandhana sustain that injury? Smriti Mandhana, you remember, prior to this match, they had played 2 warm-up games. one against Australia, one against Bangladesh. Now in that Australia game, unfortunately, yes, in that Australia game, India were bundled out very, very cheaply. And
see, it's that middle finger of hers,
yes.
I think. Yeah, she's wearing some sort of a bandage.
Yep. So Australia beat India very comprehensively in that, and they lost, and India bounced back with Richa Ghosh slamming 91 against Bangladesh. Australia, on the other hand, let us not read too much into warm-ups, but you want to read it.
No, they also lost.
They lost to Ireland by 3 runs. But unfortunately, warm-up games don't count as statistics.
They don't count.
But man, if it was to be counted, then it was a huge, momentous occasion for Irish cricket. Because they had not beaten Australia in any format, be it the men's or the women's. ODI, T20, they had not beaten them in that. So that is why India will have to start the tournament well.
But if I were Ireland, I would take that win. And, because going to the tournament, that's the good thing about, let's say, being the underdog in your group or in the tournament, because you're playing with absolutely no pressure then.
Yep, absolutely. So that is the current situation that we have got now, that India will now be batting second. Pakistan have won the toss and chosen to bat. There is no Shikha Pandey and there is no Smriti Mandhana.
Yes.
Mandhana suffered a finger injury during the warm-up games.
Yeah.
And Shikha Pandey, well, perhaps the team composition did not dictate her to start at the very beginning. Pakistan. Now, if I have to look at it, this Pakistani team have always underperformed. Be it at any level, if you have to look at it, they have hardly set the stage on fire. But against India, they somehow tend to bring out their best, as it will happen with India versus Pakistan encounters. 2 matches in this T20 World Cup itself, 2012, 2016, 1 run, 2 runs, they won. They just held their nerve.
See, also that 13-run win that's in the Asia Cup. When what this tells you, it's a story in itself. When you look at the margin of victories for either side, let's say, it just tells me one thing, that there's a lot of nerves at play.
Yes.
India, Pakistan, it just gets down to nerves in such high-profile matches.
And it was nerves in that Asia Cup encounter in Sylhet. Because India were on course, but they lost wickets at clusters during the middle overs.
Yes.
Richa Ghosh kept them in the hunt in that game with her sixes, but unfortunately they just fell short by 3 runs.
That match reminded me of Jadeja just doing enough that day, or Pandya rather, I would say, 2017 Champions Trophy final. Just doing enough on the other end to ensure that India still remain, let's say, on paper at least in the game. But again, he was the lone warrior.
And remember, this bowling attack, you've got Renuka Singh, who can swing the ball brilliantly. And Renuka Singh Thakur, she had impressed in the Commonwealth Games. It was there where she made a name for herself. From that Commonwealth Games, she impressed even in the Australia series.
He runs in hard.
That in-swing. That in-swing is simply magnificent, that Renuka Singh generates. And remember, she ended 2022 as the leading wicket taker for the Indian team. She was one of the top wicket takers in that team. So, all will hinge on Renuka Singh's early exploits.
Also, on this track, it will be interesting to see how she really... it doesn't look like, seaming conditions to me, if you ask. But it's a good test for her as well.
It is a very good test.
Are we expecting some sort of swing here?
Maybe there might be a little bit of assistance from the crack, if you can get some assistance from the pitch.
Because there's nothing much in the air you expect.
Cloud cover is there, so that might assist a little bit of it. But after that, the spinners will come into thing, and Radha Yadav and Rajeshwari Gaikwad, the 2 left-armers, will rely on a lot of drift.
So Deepti
Sharma. Now, what about Deepti Sharma? Deepti Sharma was the bowler who had to defend 7 runs in that ICC World Cup ODI against South Africa. She almost did it, except for that no ball. That no ball ensured India would be out, and West Indies, incidentally, the West Indies managed to get through. And why did West Indies come into that position? Simply because they had managed to beat New Zealand by 4 runs. India had lost to Australia, India had lost to England. India had lost to New Zealand as well in that World Cup tournament. So that is why, just because of that one win that they had against New Zealand, West Indies managed to just sneak through. By the barest of margins, as the legendary Ian Smith would like to say. So I will come to Aditya Kavlekar's comment. What has he said about Indian women's team better in ICC tournaments than the men's team? No disrespect to the men's team. Okay.
Well, okay, you go first.
Okay, Aditya Kavlekar, I will just say that the Indian women's team started their resurgence from 2017 onwards. When the India men's team lost the Champions Trophy final. Just prior to that,
you lost a final that year as well.
You lost in the ICC ODI World Cup final to England by 9 runs.
Again, a match India should have won.
Yes, because Poonam Raut and Harmanpreet Kaur headed 50s, 86 and 51. But Anya Shrup-Soul, unfortunately, that lower middle order, she
just ran through.
Veda Krishnamurthy was looking in great touch, but she threw her wicket away, and that was the start of the collapse. Because Veda
she got run out.
No, she top-edged. She went for the drive, she top-edged. 35 very good runs, and she was looking in fantastic form. But unfortunately, she was dismissed very cheaply. Now, from 2017 onwards, India have made it to the 2018 World T20 semi-final where they were badly beaten by England. That was overshadowed by all the problems that Mithali Raj and unfortunately faced with Ramesh Pawar. Then 2020, India again reached the final. They beat Australia in the league game, but unfortunately
lost.
In the final, the alpha team, that is the Australia women's cricket team, just raised their game up. Now here in 2022, they lost the qualification chances to the knockouts by a bare margin. So India's women's team in the last 5 years are really doing well.
They're doing well, but there's a persistent problem as well that you see, which is pressure situations. The jangling nerves, you need to get control of them because it can't happen again and again.
It can't happen. And remember, in that World Cup final of 2020, when they were playing in Melbourne, Shefali Verma dropped Alisa Healy in the first over itself. And that proved to be incredibly costly as Beth Mooney
but Shefali was 16 back then.
But then a 16-year-old going into the cauldron of the Melbourne cricket ground in the ICC final. That too with a world record crowd for a women's event of 86,700.
Yes.
Even the best can get intimidated. And it was too much to ask for Shefali Verma to hold her own in that tournament. And remember, she could have been the difference, but unfortunately Megan Schutt got her in the first over itself. So it was a terrible, terrible day for India in the final. Because one bad day, unfortunately for India, only comes in the knockout stages.
In the knockout stages, yes.
And remember,
in the business end of the tournament.
If you have to credit Aditya, when did India women's team change? When did the landscape change? Mithali Raj had already laid the foundation, yes. But the individual who took it to a greatest height was Harmanpreet Kaur's 171 against Australia. That knock, if you have to look at it, changed the entire landscape of India women's cricket.
Even in that England match, I remember 2017.
Yes,
Harmanpreet Kaur played well.
51.
Yes.
I mean, in fact, she was. If she had, Mithali Raj had gotten run out, but had she not hold out to long leg, then Harmanpreet could have ensured that India's women's team would have had their 83 moment right there after
2017,
34 years. It was all there, and unfortunately the way how Mithali was staring into the abyss at that time, I think she knew that I have probably botched up my last chance of winning a World Cup because the likes of Jhulan Goswami, the likes of Mithali Raj, can never win a World Cup now because they have both retired into the sunset, and this is basically India's first major ICC event
without the two
veterans. And that is why Mithali Raj and Jhulan Goswami will be missed, but there is already a fair transition. Smriti Mandhana has been looked at as one of the best India women's cricketers.
I think that was also 2017 was also the time the world got to see what Smriti Mandhana can do.
She started off with 100 against England, started with a 90 against the West Indies, but after that she kind of became like Sanju Samson, tapered off as the tournament progressed. And remember, in that contest against England, she got out for a
I'm glad you said Sanju Samson, not KL Rahul maybe.
Oh, please. Let's not I think, Rahul won innings now. I'll get to that Australia thing later. But, okay. So that is why I think, Aditya, the India men's team are already established. Yes, they do lose in the knockout stages. As I said, the bad days seem to come only for the Indian men and women's team, only the knockout stages. Either because of bad team composition, either because of bad luck, or because of just peaking too early. Those are the three possible extenses.
Or maybe if I can stick my neck out and say that 15 minutes of bad cricket just took the game away.
But I think in the 2022 match, it was 5 minutes of bad cricket. And of course, it was earlier set up because Lizel Lee and the South African openers and the batters just ensured that they came close enough to 275 in that match. Remember, that was the highest successful chase ever done in the World Cup at that point in time by South Africa. Australia had done it against India while chasing 280 in Auckland. So that is why I have a feeling that
By the way, as we speak, the players are out of the dugout now. They are headed to the center of the park.
Yes, there will be PAK Sarzameen and then India's Janaganamana, which will come on soon. It is a proud moment indeed. And India versus Pakistan, as always, even if you have to look at women's cricket, it does throw up some thrillers.
Absolutely.
And I think this tournament needs a thriller because so far, barring the first game, everything has been pretty one-sided. England thrashed the West Indies, Australia thrashed New Zealand. Now it is India versus Pakistan, Super Sunday. If it is a thriller, then boy, this World Cup will really, really be good. Upset in the first match, that's what I said, YSG boy. England, Australia, the favourites have started off well. Barring South Africa, I mean, I have to give it to Sri Lanka. I mean, Inoka, Ranavira and Chamari Atapattu. I mean, hats off to Chamari Atapattu in particular for the way how she managed to ensure she carried her bat and they could defend the total. Inoka Ranavira with her left armers. Remember, Sri Lanka had not played much of T20 cricket. But the way how they turned up in that game is simply magnificent. And that's why the group that we all thought would be open and shut is no longer open and shut. Because actually...
No, that's what... Like you were saying about the points table, yes, that point, because of that big win, it puts pressure on the other teams in the group. And India will, of course, feel that pressure. Probably not in this one because this match comes with its own pressure.
Yes.
But somewhere down the line, because England have registered a huge win, you would, because you don't want to be in that second position, by the way. You want to be top of the group.
Because if you are finishing second in this group, you are taking on Australia in the semi-final. Like I've said, which team will lose and struggle, huff and puff just to meet Australia in the knockout stages?
And you don't want to play Australia. Let's face it, you don't want to face Australia.
Be very, very scared. If you had seen the Australian exhibition yesterday, Alyssa Healy, Ellis Perry, take a bow. Because now with Perry back in great form, even if Beth Mooney falls, no problem. Alyssa Healy, what she does is she adopts the MS Dhoni template brilliantly. First 30 to 35 balls, her strike rate will be about 110. But the next 20-30 balls, she increases it to 160. And that's what happened in that game against New Zealand. The likes of Leah Tahuhu, Amelia Kerr, all were dismantled. And if you can manage to get through that, you've got Talia McGrath. Then you've got Grace Harris. And remember, it was Grace Harris's blitz that knocked India out in that first match of the CWG. Her blitz was the one that ensured Renuka Singh's 4-wicket haul would be nullified. So Akash Bharadwaj is saying, but Sitzer, I think in pressure games, both men and women, both after 2013 couldn't match the expectation. I think so. Yes, they couldn't match the expectation. But as I had said, bad luck, 10-15 minutes of poor cricket is unfortunately what is plaguing them only in the summit clashes. It's not happening in the league stages.
It doesn't happen in bilaterals at all.
Doesn't happen at all. Doesn't happen at all. So that is why. And is Jemima...
In bilaterals, you end up saving 11 runs also in the last over. But
it happens only in the ICC events. I think ICC events, the opponents or any team raises that quotient up just by 0.1 or 0.2 extra. 99.9% is India's maybe commitment. The other team, unfortunately, kind of races to 100, unfortunately.
It's those clutch moments, I would say. Those clutch moments that India sort of falls short in.
Sarath Chandra Yelamati says, Jemima needed in T20. Well, because of the injury that Mandhana has had, I think you have to get Jemima in. Because there is no other proper fit that you can have. Because they are not probably confident in all the other batters that is there at this point in time. Yastika, well, she can open. She's done well in the past. But yes, Jemima is an anchor. So that is why you may probably need that anchor role to back up with Harmanpreet Kaur and Richa Ghosh's aggressive style of play. And Harleen Deol, let us not forget. Brilliant gun fielder.
Yeah.
That catch that she took in England, I think, was one of the catches of the decade that I may have seen.
Perhaps.
So that is why. So you need that anchor in order to ensure that Harmanpreet Kaur and all others can really do well. So that is why I think big crowds got in South Africa says I said not usually play in front of big crowds. YSJ boy, maybe. Just go up a bit, Shivam. I saw one more comment. Just go up slightly. Shivam, up, thoda. Up a little. Yes. So just up. Yeah, Sabab guy retracted it. So Rajan Thind, okay, because I will take only one comment of the India-Australia match. How many chances of a Mohali for the third test in India and Australia to happen? Like as we all know and as we broke it, Dharamshala is not going to host the third test match that will happen from March 1 to March 5. And it is a real shame because it is one of the most spectacular venues that you have been blessed with in India. And it is a real shame that even if it was announced 4 to 5 months ago that Dharamshala was going to host the match, you still could not get it ready.
Get the work done, yeah.
Very unfortunate. So there are 3 venues which have been discussed. Mohali, Bangalore, Vizag. There's also talk of Indore, Pune.
You're mentioning Rajkot as well.
Rajkot also. Because logistically, if you have to look at it, if you host it...
You want to keep it in the northern half then perhaps. Because again, you don't want the teams to travel a lot.
Yeah, logistically, if you want to look at it, Mohali makes much more sense because from Delhi to Mohali hardly 2 hours or 4 hours if you want to look at it. That is one thing. But if you look at Rajkot, also from Rajkot to Ahmedabad, where the 4th test will be held. Not much, but I think Mohali stands a better chance.
But also because you can get something different over there.
Yes.
As compared to, let's say, a Rajkot or somewhere in the Deccan if you were to host the match.
Yeah.
Again, you would probably get the same kind of pitches.
But if not Mohali, then mostly Bangalore might get the nod.
Perhaps.
Bangalore. Because see, you would want to host it in the west, in the south, in the north. That's how it is. And you've already hosted in central. Like for example, Nagpur is central. So that is why. And let us not forget that you cannot host it in the Eden Gardens because the press release just came from the BCCI that the Ranji final will be held from February 16 to February 20th between Saurashtra and Bengal. That's why Eden Gardens is out of the picture. So, but it will be interesting because Vizag is hosting an ODI. So, if it hosts a test, then will the ODI be shifted? That remains to be seen. So, let us see what happens in that. So, both the Pakistani openers are out in the middle and Muniba, actually she was the top scorer for Pakistan in that Birmingham Commonwealth game. She batted pretty okay. And we have Javeria Wadood who also can bat. But unfortunately, Pakistan's major problem is the strike rate.
Yeah.
All in the very low hundreds. With only Bisma Maroof having.
But they look much more settled than they were, let's say, 6 months back. This Pakistan side.
Yes. So Pakistan versus India, the first match for these two teams in the ICC T20 World Cup. Straight out format, top 2 from each group go through to the semi-finals. The rest get eliminated and the winners of the semi-final meet Australia in the final.
Yeah.
Simple.
And you would expect, let's say, if you from an Indian perspective,
any team.
Same match, by the way, is just that it's the women's team playing now. You saw the tournament opener for the 2 teams happen at the MCG on the 24th of October, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
And you'd hope for the same result as well, and maybe a thriller of that.
Hope so. Yeah. That is how it is. And Renuka Singh Thakur is opening the bowling, and let's see whether she can get some and again be spectacled. Yeah. Muniba is a be spectacled wicketkeeper, and not much pace from the wicket. So that means it's going to be a dry, sluggish wicket. She touches about 70 kilometers per hour, but Elise Perry in her peak would touch 80 miles per hour.
Yeah.
That was how strong and how brilliant she was in. And we have an all-women umpiring panel. Pauline Williams from the West Indies, she is there. And I think this is Bernadine Bezuidenhout, if I'm not mistaken. No, it's not Bernadine Bezuidenhout. She was, I think, she was the official in the game. Oh, Lauren Agenbag. Okay, Lauren Agenbag is there as the umpire.
Second ball coming up.
So, Muniba is actually walking across, but Renuka is getting some movement
of the deck. Yeah,
so we will be back for the mid innings to see what is the total that Pakistan have posted. Can India restrict them to a below par total? Oh, what a ball. What a ball from Renuka Singh. One of the best women cricket bowlers at this point in time. So We'll be back for the mid innings in about 90 minutes time, hopefully, and then of course,
Or maybe earlier, who knows?
or maybe earlier for Indian fans earlier. So subscribe to Sports Today for all the latest news and analysis, and don't forget we are also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Oh,
The
bad.
first-
Okay,
no,
first
no,
runs of the bat.
First
And
ones,
we are also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Thank you.